When we talk about why people believe, the conversation often gets stuck on surface-level answers. People might say they believe because it's true, or because it gives them faith or hope. But the real reasons often run much deeper, and they're not always the ones people consciously recognize. Belief isn't just about accepting an idea as fact. It's about identity, belonging, comfort, and the way our brains process uncertainty. At its core, belief serves psychological and social needs that can be more powerful than evidence or logic. One of the biggest drivers is the need for certainty. The world is unpredictable and often frightening. Belief can give a sense of order, a narrative where everything happens for a reason. That feeling of stability can be more important than whether the story matches reality. For many, the alternative, accepting that the world might be chaotic, indifferent, or random, feels unbearable. Then there's the social side. Humans are wired to be part of groups, and belief systems can create strong bonds between people. Shared rituals, traditions, and language build trust and cooperation. In many communities, belief is tied so tightly to belonging that questioning it can feel like risking exile. People might not consciously weigh the trade-off, but the instinct to stay connected to a group is strong enough to keep doubts in check. Fear also plays a role: fear of death, fear of meaninglessness, fear of being on the outside. A belief system that promises safety, purpose, or life after death can neutralize those fears. Even if the details seem implausible, the emotional payoff can outweigh the logical gaps, and once a belief is in place, our brains don't treat it neutrally. Confirmation bias pushes us to notice and remember information that supports what we already think, while filtering out what doesn't fit. Over time, belief can feel like the obvious truth. Upbringing might be the single most powerful factor in shaping belief. From the moment we're born, we're absorbing the world around us, long before we're able to think critically. For most people, belief isn't something they actively choose, it's something they inherit. If you grow up in a family, school, or community where a certain worldview is treated as fact, you don't start by questioning it, you start by living inside it. This early exposure matters because childhood is when our core frameworks for understanding reality are built. The more a belief is presented as just the way things are, the more it becomes a default setting in the mind. It's not just an idea, it's the lens through which everything else is interpreted. Education plays into this as well. In some systems, information is carefully filtered so it never contradicts the dominant belief. Textbooks might leave out inconvenient historical facts or frame scientific findings in a way that supports a particular narrative. And when critical thinking isn't encouraged, it's easy for inherited beliefs to stay intact well into adulthood. Culture then reinforces these beliefs at every level. Art, holidays, music, laws, and even casual conversation often carry subtle affirmations of the shared worldview. Belief is woven into daily life so seamlessly that it feels less like a choice and more like the air you breathe. And here's where things get even more complicated: beliefs aren't just handed down, they're protected. Communities often create social rewards for those who believe and social penalties for those who don't. In some cases, questioning or rejecting the shared belief can cost you relationships, status, or even your livelihood. That's not an abstract fear, it's a tangible risk that keeps many people outwardly aligned with the beliefs of their group, even if their private thoughts are very different. This combination, even when doubts start to appear, belief can be held in place by the personal psychological benefits it provides. For many people, belief offers a ready-made sense of purpose. Life can feel directionless without a framework that tells you what you're here for and what matters most. A belief system can hand you that structure, complete with clear moral guidelines, goals, and a sense of progress toward something larger than yourself. There's also the comfort factor. In moments of pain, uncertainty, or grief, belief can be like an emotional life raft. It can offer the reassurance that suffering has meaning, that there's a plan, or that loved ones lost are in a better place. That comfort can be so powerful that it outweighs any logical contradictions in the belief itself. Belief can also give a sense of control over the uncontrollable. Rituals, prayers, and traditions can make people feel they're influencing events, even in situations where they have little or no actual control. This can reduce anxiety and make the unpredictable seem more manageable. And then there's identity. Many people don't just believe in a set of ideas, they see those ideas as part of who they are. Challenging the belief can feel like challenging the person's very self. This is why arguments about belief can quickly become emotional or defensive. It's not just about the facts, it's about protecting a core part of personal identity. Finally, belief can act as a moral anchor. Even though morality doesn't require belief in a supernatural system, many people are taught that it does. The idea that morality comes from a higher authority can make it feel more absolute and less open to fear is one of the most effective forces for holding a belief in place. Some of that fear is existential. The idea of complete non-existence after death is unsettling for many. A belief that offers some form of continued existence, whether it's an afterlife, reincarnation, or spiritual continuation, can quiet that fear, at least on the surface. The emotional relief can be so strong that questioning it feels dangerous, almost like staring too long into a void, but there's also fear of consequences in this life. In some cultures, abandoning or even doubting a shared belief can mean losing your social support network. Friends may drift away. Family relationships can strain or break. In extreme cases, people face legal penalties, discrimination, or violence for rejecting the dominant belief. These risks make it easier to stay outwardly aligned with the group's ideas, even if privately you've moved on. Then there's the fear of being wrong. If someone has spent their entire life building choices and values on top of a certain belief, the thought that it might be false can be deeply destabilizing. It's not just about losing the belief, it's about losing the foundation you thought your life was built on. That loss can trigger guilt, regret, or the feeling that you've wasted years of your life, and for many, avoiding that pain means holding on to the belief more tightly. Social dynamics also reinforce this fear. Communities tend to protect their shared beliefs through group loyalty. When everyone around you believes, disbelief can feel like betrayal. Peer pressure isn't just something that happens in school, it shapes adult decisions too. If the people you depend on for companionship, security, or opportunities all share the same belief, going against it can feel like isolating yourself completely, and for some, belief becomes a shield. It's a way to fit in, avoid conflict, and navigate it. When you look at all these factors together, psychological comfort, early conditioning, social belonging, fear, and identity, you start to see how belief can become a self-reinforcing system. Once a belief is in place, everything around it tends to bend in its favor. Communities reward loyalty and discourage dissent. Information is filtered so that supportive evidence is amplified and contradictory evidence is minimized. Personal experiences are interpreted through the lens of the belief, which makes the belief feel confirmed, even if it's just a matter of selective perception. This feedback loop creates what psychologists sometimes call a closed system, a set of ideas that explains away anything that might challenge it. If something good happens, it's proof the belief works. If something bad happens, it's a test, a mystery, or a lesson. Either way, the belief remains untouched. It's important to see that this isn't about intelligence or education. People of all backgrounds and abilities can find themselves inside such a system because it speaks to universal human needs. The desire for meaning, the fear of loss, the pull of belonging, these are built into the way we function as social, conscious beings. Breaking out of such a system often requires more than just new information. It takes a willingness to sit with uncertainty, to risk social and emotional consequences, and to rebuild a sense of self outside of the framework you've always known. For some, that process is liberating. For others, it's too costly to attempt, and that's why, for many, belief isn't simply a matter of agreeing with an idea. It's about maintaining a structure that supports their identity, relationships, and emotional balance. Even if the belief itself has cracks, the system it sustains can feel too valuable to let go of. In the end, understanding why people believe isn't about dismissing them, it's about recognizing the complex mix of human needs that make belief so powerful. And when we see it clearly, we can approach the conversation not as a clash of truths, but as an exploration of what it really means to be human.